When Kale first saw her, he could barely believe it. The alien princess stood on the edge of the canyon, her white robes blowing in the wind, her face gentle yet anxious. She did not see him, yet she sensed him. Something about her drew Kale closer. Humans had come far from Earth, but Kale never expected to meet someone like her, someone so fragile yet brave. She had been blind since birth, and her people depended on her to lead their world. Kale knew it was dangerous for her to travel alone. But somehow, even from a distance, he could feel the loneliness in her. She was separated from her family, her advisors, and her people by a political rift in her kingdom. Kale, a human explorer, had volunteered to escort her safely back home. As he approached, Kale remembered the last time he had felt this helpless. Back on Earth, he had a friend who moved to another city. He had tried calling and writing, but the distance always seemed too big. He remembered the sadness, the frustration, and the longing to reconnect. Kale saw that same feeling mirrored in the princess's demeanor, isolated, longing, yet trying to stay strong. "Princess," Kale said softly, "I'm here. You are not alone." She turned her head slightly, tilting toward the voice. "I know you are here," she said in a quiet voice, "but I do not know if I can trust anyone." Kale felt a wave of empathy. He knew what it meant to feel distant from someone you cared about. It was a pain that humans had felt for centuries, but it was also a lesson in hope. He took a step closer. "I will not leave you, not until you are safe. You can trust me." The princess hesitated. Then, slowly, she reached out. Her fingers barely brushed his hand. Kale held her hand gently, careful not to startle her. She could not see, but she could feel. That small contact human warmth made her heart skip a beat. It was a bridge between isolation and trust. For hours they walked through the rocky paths, Kale guiding her, his hand on her shoulder whenever the ground shifted. He told her stories of Earth, about oceans that glimmered under the sun, forests where the trees seemed endless, and deserts where the wind painted the sand into endless waves. She listened, fascinated. Her world had been confined to walls and halls of her palace, but through Kale's words, she began to see. Sometimes she would ask questions that Kale did not have answers to, but he never hesitated. They shared laughter over mistakes, quiet moments under alien stars, and the simple comfort of human presence. Kale realized that even though she was distant from her people, he could be a partner in her journey, a companion in a world that often seemed harsh and unkind. That night, Kale built a small fire. They sat beside it, the cold wind brushing past them. Kale noticed how vulnerable she seemed, but also how determined. Her resilience reminded him of humans, their ability to adapt, to hope, to keep moving forward even when the path was uncertain. "I feel alone," the princess admitted softly, staring at the glowing embers. "Even with people around me, I feel distant." Kale nodded. "I know that feeling," he said. "I had a friend once far away. I tried to reach them, but it seemed impossible. I didn't know how to reconnect. But one thing I learned is this: hope can bridge any distance. And if you trust someone, even a little, you can find that connection again." She paused, letting his words sink in. Then carefully, she placed her hand on his. "I want to trust you," she whispered. Kale smiled gently. "And I will be here. We will find a way together." As dawn broke, the canyon light painted their path in soft gold. Kale felt a renewed determination. The princess needed more than guidance. She needed belief in others, a reminder that even in isolation, connection could be found. And for Kale, this journey was more than a mission. It was a chance to show humanity's spirit, to remind an alien world that humans could be trustworthy, resilient, and full of hope. The distance between them, physical or emotional, had begun to shrink. With every step, every word, and every gesture of care, Kale and the princess grew closer. And though she could not yet see him with her eyes, she could feel him in every moment, the warmth of human presence, the strength of shared purpose, and the hope that they could face any challenge together. By the end of the first day, Kale realized that the journey was not only about bringing her home, it was about creating a bond built on trust, courage, and humanity's unyielding spirit. And for the princess, this bond offered a glimmer of hope that even someone distant, even someone unknown, could become a partner she could rely on. As they continued forward, Kale repeated his silent promise. I am your partner. I will not leave you. Together, we will face this world. The princess squeezed his hand gently. For the first time in a long while, she felt she was not alone. And though the road ahead was long and uncertain, Kale knew one thing. In a distant galaxy, humans could still be a force for hope, for trust, and for connection. And for the princess, that hope was exactly what she needed, someone by her side, someone she could count on, a true partner in every sense. The morning light spilled across the canyon as Kale and the princess continued their journey. The alien world was strange and beautiful, filled with glowing plants and rivers that reflected the twin suns. Yet despite the wonders around them, Kale could feel a weight in his chest, the same weight he had felt years ago when a friend he cared about moved far away. The princess walked slowly, relying on Kale's guidance. Every so often she would pause and ask questions, not just about the terrain, but about the people Kale came from, about Earth, and about the friends he had left behind. Each question reminded Kale of the invisible threads that tied humans together, threads that stretched across galaxies, across distance, and even across time. I wish I could see them, the princess said quietly, her voice soft like the wind. I wish I could see the people who care about me. I feel so far away from everyone who matters. Kale paused and knelt beside her. I know that feeling. Someone I care about moved far away once. I couldn't see them every day, couldn't talk to them easily. It made me sad, helpless, but I realized something. Distance can't break the connection if you try to reach it. You just have to find the way. The princess listened carefully, tilting her head toward him. How did you reach them? Kale smiled faintly. I wrote letters. I sent messages. Sometimes they didn't reply right away, but I kept trying. I couldn't control how far away they were, but I could control my effort. That's what matters. She considered this for a moment. Effort, trust, hope, she whispered. I think I understand. They traveled for hours. Kale guided her along rocky cliffs, through forests where the trees seemed alive, and across rivers with waters as smooth as glass. Each step required trust, and each step they took together deepened the bond they shared. Kale noticed small things, how her hands trembled when she reached for a branch, how her ears caught distant sounds that humans might miss, and how she laughed softly at the smallest discoveries. At midday, they stopped beside a calm, shallow river. Kale knelt to fill their water containers, while the princess sat on a smooth stone, her face turned to the sky. You know, she said after a pause, I feel less distant when I am with you. I still miss my family, my advisors, but your presence, it makes the distance smaller. Kale handed her a cup of water. Humans believe that hope can cross any distance, he said. Even when someone moves away, you can still reach them with effort and care. It's not easy, but it's worth it. The princess took a sip and smiled faintly. Then maybe I can find a way to reconnect with my people. Maybe I can trust again. Kale nodded. He thought about the long years humans had survived and thrived even when separated by oceans, mountains, and even stars. Humanity had always found a way to connect, to rebuild bonds, and to help each other through isolation. That spirit, he realized, could guide the princess to Dot as the sun began to dip behind the mountains. The sky turned a soft pink and purple. They made camp on a high plateau, and Kale prepared a small fire. The princess sat close, her hands near. The warmth. I was afraid, she admitted, that being far from my people meant I could never belong again, that the distance was permanent. Kale reached over and gently rested a hand on hers. Distance doesn't make you alone. It just makes connection harder. But humans, we never give up. We try again and again. That's what makes us strong. That's what makes hope real. She looked down at their joined hands. For the first time, she felt a true sense of partnership, not just protection, but shared determination. They were not just traveler and guide, they were companions, bound by mutual trust and the desire to overcome distance. Kale smiled. Tomorrow we continue, step by step. We'll face challenges, but together we'll get closer, not just to your people, but to understanding each other. That's the part that matters most. The princess nodded, a quiet resolve settling in her voice. Together, she said. That night, Kale thought about his old friend on Earth. They were miles apart. Yet the lessons he had learned applied here too. Connection required patience, effort, and courage. And even when the road was long and uncertain, hope could guide the way. He hoped the princess would remember this lesson when she returned to her people Dot in the dark. Under the twin stars, the princess felt a warmth she had not known in a long time. She could not see, but she could feel the dedication of someone who had chosen to walk beside her. She realized that even when the world seemed distant and unforgiving, the touch of kindness. The morning light broke over the alien mountains, casting long shadows across the path Kale and the princess had traveled. Each step forward reminded them both of how far they had come and how far they still needed to go. The princess could sense the uneven terrain beneath her feet, and Kale stayed close, his hand lightly on her shoulder to guide her through the rocky stretches. I am afraid, she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. Afraid that even if I reach my people, I will still feel distant. Kale stopped and looked at her. Feeling distant is normal, he said. Humans have felt it too, when friends move far away, or when we cannot see the people we care about. But distance doesn't have to break the bond. It only makes the effort to reconnect more important. She let out a small sigh, the sound of wind brushing through alien grass. I want to reconnect, but I don't know how. Kale smiled softly. Sometimes you don't need a perfect plan. You just need to take small steps, one at a time, and show that you care. That effort builds trust. The path ahead was difficult. Rocks jutted out of the ground, streams crossed the trail, and the air grew thinner as they climbed higher. Yet, with every challenge, the princess relied more on Kale, and Kale felt more protective. But it was not just protection. Kale realized he was learning from her as well. She showed patience, curiosity, and courage in ways that reminded him of what humans were capable of, rising to challenges, building bonds, and creating hope in impossible circumstances. Dot, as they walked, Kale spoke of Earth again, telling her about distant cities, open oceans, and stars that sparkled above deserts. People there sometimes feel alone too, he said. But when we care, when we reach out, we find ways to stay connected. That's what makes us human. That's what gives. Use hope. The princess listened intently. She had never traveled this far from her home. Her advisors and people had always told her that she could not venture alone. Yet here she was, guided by a human who showed her patience and compassion. Slowly, she began to understand that connection did not have to be limited to sight or proximity. It could exist through effort, kindness, and trust. At midday, They reached a plateau overlooking a vast valley. Rivers glimmered like silver threads below, and the wind carried the scent of strange, blooming flowers. The princess paused, closing her eyes to take in the sounds and scents. Kale knelt beside her, speaking softly. You see, even though you cannot see them with your eyes, you can feel the world. You can feel the people who care about you through your heart. That feeling is what makes reconnection possible. She nodded slowly. I think I understand. It is not only about returning home. It is about finding the courage to reach out. Even when the path seems long and uncertain, Kale felt a surge of pride. Humans were capable of great things, he thought, and sometimes all it took was patience and empathy to show others the same strength. Exactly, he said, one step at a time. That's how bonds are rebuilt. As evening fell, they set up camp near a cluster of alien trees that glowed faintly in the twilight. Kale gathered firewood, while the princess explored the area carefully with her hands. She laughed softly as she felt the strange texture of the glowing bark, the smooth stones, and the soft moss beneath her fingers. You make the world feel less frightening, she admitted quietly. Even though I am far from my people, I feel safer somehow. Kale handed her a cup of water. That's the power of partnership, he said. When someone walks beside you, shares the burden, and believes in you, distance becomes smaller. Hope becomes stronger. The princess smiled. Faintly, I hope I can learn to do the same for my people. To show them that even when I am far, I still care, and I still want to reconnect. Kale nodded. Humans do that every day. We cannot always be with the people we care about, but we never stop trying. That is what keeps hope alive. That night, as they sat by the fire, the princess shared stories of her childhood. She told Kale about the gardens of her palace, the lessons her tutors gave her, and the songs her people sang. Though she had felt distant from her people for so long, speaking aloud made her feel closer. She realized that even small actions sharing memories, speaking from the heart, could rebuild connections. Kale listened with admiration. He thought about the humans he had left behind on Earth and how small efforts had maintained their bonds across distances. That same spirit, he realized, was now guiding the princess. The fire crackled between them, a symbol of warmth, safety, and hope. Before sleep, the princess reached for Kale's hand. Thank you, she whispered, for being my partner, for showing me that even when I am distant, I can reconnect with those who matter. Kale squeezed her hand gently. And I will continue to be here, step by step, until you are safe with your people. That is what humans do. We never give up on connection, on hope, or on each other. As the stars shone above, the princess felt a quiet determination rising inside her. She could not see them, but she could feel their light. And in that light, she found courage, the courage to continue, the courage to reach out, and the courage to believe in the power of connection. The next day, they would climb higher, face more challenges, and grow stronger. And even though she still felt distant from her people, the princess had begun to understand a truth humans had known for centuries, that hope, effort, and trust could bridge any distance. For the first time in many cycles, she felt she could reconnect, not just with her people, but with the world, with the humans she met, and with the enduring spirit of those who never give up. And Kale, guiding her with quiet patience, knew that humanity's greatest strength was not in weapons or machines, but in hope, courage, and the unyielding will to connect with others, even across the stars. The sun had barely risen when Kale and the princess began their next stage of the journey. The valley below was covered in mist, making it hard to see the uneven ground. The princess's hand brushed Kale's shoulder as he guided her carefully. I feel nervous today, she admitted. The path looks uncertain. Kale nodded. It is uncertain, but uncertainty does not mean failure. Humans have always faced unknown challenges and found a way. The important thing is to take each step carefully, together. The air grew colder as they climbed higher into the mountains. Soon, a strong wind began to whip around them. Trees bent and loose stones tumbled down the slopes. The princess paused, gripping Kale's hand tightly. "I am afraid I will fall," she whispered. "I am afraid of losing my way and of being distant forever from those I care about." Kale looked into her face. Fear is normal. Feeling distant is normal, but giving up is not an option. Humans face fear every day and still keep moving forward. That courage, that hope, can guide us through this storm. As the wind picked up, Kale adjusted his stance to shield her. He spoke calmly, telling stories of explorers from Earth who crossed deserts, climbed mountains, and sailed across stormy oceans to reconnect with those they loved. Each story reminded the princess that distance could be overcome with effort, persistence, and trust. Hours passed, and the storm grew stronger. Rain began to fall, soaking them through. The princess shivered, but Kale never let go of her hand. He guided her carefully over slippery rocks, around deep puddles, and past sudden drops in the path. With every step, she felt the distance in, her heart shrinking, replaced by trust in the human guiding her. "Kale," she said, her voice soft against the wind. "Even if I cannot see the path ahead, I feel connected. I feel that I am not alone." Kale smiled, despite the storm. That is what hope feels like. Even when the path is hard, even when you feel distant from the people you care about, you can still reach out. You can still move forward. By afternoon, the storm began to ease. The clouds broke apart, revealing a distant city glowing under the sun. The princess gasped. She had not expected to see civilization so soon. Yet even as the sight lifted her spirits, she felt a pang of sadness, a reminder of the distance that still separated her from her people. Kale noticed her hesitation. "I know it feels far," he said, "but every step we take brings you closer. Every effort, every choice, every small action matters." That is how humans bridge distance through patience, courage, and persistence. The princess took a deep breath and nodded. "And I will keep moving. I will not let distance make me feel alone." That evening, they camped at the edge of a forest overlooking the city. Kale built a small fire, and the princess sat close, listening to the sound of the wind through the trees. She thought about her family, her advisors, and her people. She had been distant from them for so long, but now she realized that distance did not mean disconnection. Trust, effort, and hope could create a bridge between her heart and theirs. "Kale," she said softly, "I am beginning to understand. Even though I cannot see them, I can still reach them. Even though I feel far, I can still connect." Kale nodded. "Exactly. Humans face these challenges every day. We move across oceans, continents, even space, to reconnect with those we care about. And we never give up." The princess smiled faintly. "Then I will not give up either. I will find a way to reconnect with my people. I will show them that distance does not matter when there is hope." As they sat together by the fire, the princess thought about the journey so far. Each obstacle had been a test, not just of her body, but of her heart. Each step had shown her the power of partnership, trust, and human perseverance. Kale had been her. The city lay ahead, glowing faintly in the distance as Kale and the princess approached. Its towers were tall and elegant, shining with alien lights, but to the princess it felt intimidating. She had been away from her people for so long that even seeing her home brought a strange mix of longing and fear. I don't know if they will remember me," the princess whispered, gripping Kale's arm. What if they see me as distant, as someone changed by time away? Kale stopped and looked at her. Feeling distant is normal, he said. Even humans sometimes feel this when someone moves far away. But distance doesn't erase care. If you show them you still care, if you reach out, you can reconnect. That's what makes hope real. A princess nodded, trying to steady her breath. Kale held her hand gently as they entered the city, walking through streets filled with unfamiliar sounds, strange scents, and glowing signs. People passed by, curious glances cast at the small human alien pair. The princess stiffened, overwhelmed by the bustle, but Kale guided her steadily. "You are not alone," he whispered. "Even if you feel distant, I am here. Step by step, you can reconnect with them. One effort at a time." They reached the palace gates, and the princess paused. Her people were inside, busy with their duties and unaware of her presence. She felt a surge of sadness. Being close yet separated made the distance feel heavier than ever. Kale squeezed her hand and spoke softly. "You've already taken many steps. That counts. Courage is trying even when it feels hard." The princess took a deep breath. "I want to reconnect. I don't want to feel distant anymore." Kale nodded. "Then we will find a way." They entered the palace slowly. The halls were vast and echoing. The princess listened to voices, footsteps, and the faint hum of machinery. Her heart pounded, and she felt the familiar ache of distance from family, from advisors, from the people who had once been closest to her. Kale guided her to a quiet room overlooking the central courtyard. "Start small," he suggested. "Reach out in the simplest way. Speak from your heart." Humans show care in small actions, and those actions create trust. The princess hesitated, but then spoke aloud, her voice trembling slightly. "I have been away. I feel distant from you all. But I want to reconnect. I want to be close again." Words were simple, but they carried courage. Slowly, one by one, her people entered the room. At first, there was silence. Then, recognition softened their expressions. They remembered her voice, her presence, her care. Though the distance had been long, it had not broken the bond. Kale stood back, letting the princess lead. He had guided her through storms, mountains, and uncertainty. Now, she was learning another lesson. Connection required bravery, honesty, and persistence. The princess smiled, a mixture of relief and hope in her eyes. "Distance does not have to mean forever," she said softly. "Even when we are apart, we can find each other again." Her advisors nodded, some with tears in their eyes. They embraced her, showing that care could survive absence. The princess felt the heavy weight in her chest lift. Kale's words were true effort, courage, and hope had bridged the gap. After the reunion, Kale and the princess walked through the palace gardens. She looked at him with gratitude. "You showed me that even when I feel distant, I can reconnect. That even in fear, I can take steps toward hope." Kale smiled. "That is what humans do. We never give up on connection, on hope, or on those we care about. You are stronger than you know." The princess nodded. She had learned that feeling distant was not a weakness. It was an opportunity to show courage and effort. HFY was not just about humans. It was about teaching others the value of hope, trust, and perseverance. As evening fell, the city lights reflected in the palace windows. The princess felt something she had not felt in a long time: belonging. She was home, connected, and no longer defined by distance. And she knew that even if challenges returned, the lessons she had learned with Kale courage, persistence, and hope would guide her. That night, she looked at the stars, thinking about those she had missed and those she would reconnect with in the future. She whispered softly, "Distance cannot hold us apart. With effort, with trust, with hope, we can always find our way back to each other." Kale nodded beside her. And I will always be here. Even across worlds, humans can show the way to hope. The princess felt a quiet strength within her. She realized that HFY was not only about survival or courage in battle. It was about connection, compassion, and the determination to reach out, even across impossible distances. And in that moment, she knew she would never feel truly distant again. Step by step, they had faced storms, mountains, and fear. Now they faced the world together, stronger, hopeful, and ready to bridge any distance. Asterisk, the city had grown quiet after the initial reunion, but the princess could still feel a subtle distance from some of her people. Though they had welcomed her, she sensed hesitation in their voices and uncertainty in their eyes. She had been gone for so long, and though she was home, the gap remained. Kale noticed her unease. Even after reconnecting, he said gently, there can still be distance, but distance is not permanent. Humans believe that trust, effort, and time can heal even long separations. The princess nodded slowly. I want to bridge that distance, she admitted. I want them to know I care, that I am still part of their lives, even after being away. Kale smiled. Then we start small, step by step, with honesty and effort. That is how humans reconnect. They began their work the next morning. Princess visited the advisors she had once trusted, listening carefully to their concerns and speaking openly about her experiences. She shared her journey with Kale, describing the mountains, the storms, and the lessons she had learned. She told them about the moments when she had felt distant and how she had found hope through partnership and persistence. One advisor hesitated at first. We feared we had lost you, he said softly. We feared distance had changed everything. Princess took a deep breath. Distance cannot change care, she said. I have been away, but I never stopped thinking of you all. I want to rebuild our bond. I want to reconnect. Slowly, the tension in the room eased. Smiles returned, and conversations flowed more freely. Each small connection, each step of openness, helped shrink the distance that had seemed so wide. Kale watched quietly, proud of the human spirit shining through the princess. HFY was not just about courage in battle. It was about courage in the heart, the ability to rebuild trust, and the determination to reconnect even after separation. As days passed, the princess continued her efforts. She walked through the city, speaking with citizens who remembered her from childhood, listening to their stories, and sharing her own. She learned that distance had not erased their care. It had only made the effort to reconnect more important. And with each interaction, she felt the invisible threads of connection grow stronger. At night, she and Kale would sit together and reflect on the day. Some of them still feel distant, she said quietly. Even though I try, it seems like a long path ahead. Kale held her hand. Distance is like a river, he said. Sometimes wide, sometimes shallow, but always bridgeable. Humans build bridges, small ones at first, then stronger ones over time. You are building yours every day. The princess smiled faintly. I never thought of it that way. Bridges, step by step. That makes sense. One evening, a celebration was held in the palace gardens. Citizens and advisors gathered to welcome her formally back. The princess stood beside Kale, feeling the warmth of many hands reaching to shake hers, the smiles and nods of people who were reconnecting. The gap she had felt for so long was slowly closing. Though some distance remained, the effort she had made was clear. Kale leaned close and whispered, See? Trust and effort work. You have brought them closer, and they are bringing you closer too. The princess looked around and realized he was right. Every gesture, every conversation, every act of openness was building bridges stronger than any. Distance. She understood that reconnecting was not instantaneous. It was a process a journey of courage and patience. Later that night, she walked alone through the palace balcony. The stars twinkled above, distant yet visible. She thought about Kale, about the journey they had shared, and about the humans she had learned from. Humans had a remarkable way of showing hope, even across worlds, across storms, and across long distances. I feel closer, she whispered to herself. Even when I cannot see them, I feel them. I feel the connection growing. Kale joined her quietly. That is hope, he said. Humans carry it everywhere. Distance can never destroy it, only challenge it. And you are proving that every day. The princess smiled, feeling a sense of peace she had not felt for many cycles. She had begun the journey of reconnecting, learning that effort and trust could overcome distance. She understood that HFY humanity at its best was not just about exploration or survival. It was about showing courage of the heart, reaching out to others, and never giving up on connection. You have taught me so much, she said softly. Not just about hope, but about partnership, courage, and the strength to reconnect. Kale nodded. That is what humans do, and you are doing it too. You are showing everyone that even when we feel distant, we can bridge the gap with patience, care, and hope. The princess looked toward the city lights, glowing softly in the night. Though she had once felt distant, she now felt a quiet determination.